Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. Joining me this week is Ben and Lee. Welcome back, both of you.
How are we? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, all good here. Obviously, football is back finally. It's our first video since the season has started, and we got two football games to discuss. Not friendlies, but competitive matches. One in the league and one in the League Cup, or the Football League Cup, whatever it's called these days. Carabao Cup, all the same thing. One victory and one defeat. Obviously, Swans lost away at Middlesbrough in the season opener, but they beat Gillingham in the Cup 3-1 at home. So we'll talk about those two games. We've got a little bit of news to touch on, nothing really massive, just a couple of things that we're going to mention. And we're also going to do our 1 to 24 table predictions, which we did post our individual ones on Twitter last week sometime. So it was all done before the season started, which I guess, to be honest, even if we could try and lie and say we did it after the first game, I think the table would speak for itself that wasn't the case. So, yeah, we'll get into it anyway. How have you two been in the last week?
Not too bad. About 3 weeks out from the wedding now, so stress levels are massive at the moment in my house, as you can imagine. And there's just rubbish everywhere that needs to come with us. So, yeah, the football was a nice break, to be honest. Well, I say that until it kicked off, but yes, we're getting there slowly.
Yeah,
Anything you, Ben?
well, obviously, chuffed to have the football back. Went down to the friendly and went down to the cup game and saw Borough on TV. So enjoyed all of those, even if some of the results weren't what we wanted. And for about 3 weeks, I'm starting a new job in 3 weeks. So busy time for both of us, I guess, Lee.
Big time.
Should be a big occasion in 3 weeks then for you to hopefully it goes smoothly on both fronts. And a little bit of a different occasion. Obviously, congratulations to both though, and both, I guess, could be celebrated with a couple of drinks.
Yeah,
well, it's probably a good thing actually, because in 2 weeks' time, Swans are playing Cardiff. That could have been a really badly timed, very good or bad timed match, depending on how that plays out.
The other thing is, it was funny because when we said, oh, we were getting married like end of August, beginning of September, I was very confident that we were not going to have like Cardiff in that window, and it turns out we only missed it by a week. So that was
it's crazy.
I was lucky.
I do
well, the wedding would have been off anyway if the Cardiff game had fallen that week, so it was a man.
That would have gone down well, I'm sure. Okay, so let's get started anyway. So Swansea started their season, a trip away at Middlesbrough. I think we had a match against them up there quite late last season, which ended 2-0.
Yeah,
I want to say. Kind of similar theme this time round, although actually we made some more chances that last time than we did this season. We lost 1-0. On paper, I think you could say we got a bit unlucky, or it was just a penalty that let us down, and otherwise it was okay. But I think when you look at the actual match itself, 1-0 probably flatters us a little bit, I would argue, in regards to the match. What are your thoughts on the game, Ben?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. The score definitely flattered us. 1-0. I think if it was 3-0, we couldn't really have had many complaints. I feel like Borough, we knew it was going to be a terrible fixture. Michael Carrick has our number. Borough have our number, especially away from home. It's a very tough fixture. We knew that going in. So it's not the be-all and end-all. But tactically, I think they nullified us perfectly. They know how important our fullbacks were, particularly Josh Tymon, but neither Key or Tymon could really get up the field because the pace they had in Isaiah Jones and Latte Lath pinned both wing-backs back for the majority of the game. Grimes was sitting very deep, so not a lot was happening there. And also, I feel like it was quite evident Ronald not being on the pitch for the first half didn't offer us much threat in that first half. Abdullahi wasn't the most comfortable on the wing. So I think it's a lot to work on, and still new signings being embedded in, so not panic stations by any means, but a deserved loss.
Lee?
Yeah, not much to add from you two, really. Just a bit disappointed because even though, probably like you say, I probably expected to lose the game because we don't ever travel well to Middlesbrough, or rarely anyway. So I expected us to struggle a bit, but you go into the first game of the season with a little bit of optimism, just thinking like, oh, let's see what we got, and what we got was not a lot. So like I said, it's not panic stations, but it was really disappointing, that performance, because you just want to see something. You've got all these new signings coming in. You just kind of want to see how it's changed from, the last game of the last season. And I didn't see much difference. I don't know about you boys. I didn't see anything to light the world on fire, but it's still early days.
That was going to be my point exactly, is what has changed from last season, and I can, if anything, arguably, it was a worse performance. It might have been the second half. We looked like we were in the game a bit more, but we just didn't do anything. We kind of huffed and puffed, and literally did nothing, and there was no damage done. It didn't look like we were capable of creating any damage. If you compare the actual games, so last season when we played them up at Middlesbrough, we had 7 shots in that game. Trying to see how many's on target. I can't actually work that out for you. But we had 7 shots anyway, regardless. They had 12. And if you compare that to this time round, they had 18 shots, with 5 of them being on target, and we had 5 shots with none on target. So it looks like they perhaps have improved, and we went the other direction. I know that's a very basic way of looking at it. I fully understand that. But I think from watching the match, I felt like that, to be honest. Like what I've just read out there, it did feel we had more possession. And the Middlesbrough are the team that like to play with the ball. They like to keep the ball. But we did get more possession than them. We had 64% possession. And we only managed to get 5 shots, none of which on target. So, it's back to that same old question. What are we doing with the ball? Are we just keeping the ball for the sake of it? They, a team who also like to play with the ball, were happy to let us have possession. They accepted around 36%, but they still managed to have 18 shots. And every time they seemed to get the ball, they looked dangerous. As soon as they got it on the break, on the counter, even just winning the ball in an area where they had to work an opportunity, they always felt like they could make a chance. And I just don't feel like we ever looked like that. And I feel like we're seeing that too often.
I'm surprised there was as much as 5 shots, to be honest. It didn't feel like that many at all.
No,
it's probably one of some of them where a header back to the keeper from a corner counts as a shot or stuff like that. And I can't remember any of them being of note. There was one chance where we won the ball from their centre back, basically on the D of the box, and absolutely made a howler of it. I think it was Cullen.
Cullen and Abdullah. It was a good chance. It was also a good last-ditch defending.
They probably should have scored. I'll be totally honest. He just needed to pass it. I think he went for glory, and it just didn't work.
I think he did pass it, didn't he? It's just a deflected.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I don't think he was composed enough to make the clinical final decision in that moment, whether it was a pass or a shot. I think maybe he was caught in 2 minds, and the pass that he ended up trying to play was nothing. And I think it got intercepted quite easily.
Probably took him a bit by surprise he even got the ball. There is that, but you'd expect him to do better than what he did. I feel like
that's the chances you've got to take, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I feel like a running theme from that game, and we'll talk about it a bit with Gillingham as well, is just how little anybody who plays up front gets involved. We knew it from last season as well, but I was hoping it would change a bit in the opening stage of this season, and we haven't really seen it. It's constant fullbacks and wingers receiving the ball, but it's just left, right, not always back. But we're never looking to progress the ball through the middle third. Through the center of the pitch, and whoever the number 9 is, Vopotnik, Cullen, they're just not receiving the ball to feet.
I've got a stat for that, and that is in regards to Vopotnik specifically. Can't get my words out. He was on the pitch for about 30 minutes, give or take, with the injury time, and he had 1 touch of the ball. In the second half, where we were 1-0 down and pushing on, if you watched the game, we were kind of having more of the ball. We weren't making the chances, already discussed that, but we were pushing on the team, trying to get back into the game, and having more of the ball. And our striker, who got brought on in the 64th minute, had 1 touch in half an hour.
But this was our biggest criticism all last year, was like what Ben said. Then it's going wide, left to right, left to right, left to right. Unless you've got absolutely world-class wingers that can beat 2 men and do something, which sometimes does happen. We have got, like Ronald, for example, can maybe do that now and again, but 9 times out of 10, that's not happening. And then they either just get forced wide, or they're forced into just chucking across in the middle, where you've got Cullen waiting on his own, and that's bread and butter for Championship defenders. Now, we'll come on to the Gillingham game, where they probably had a bit more joy against lower league opposition. It's still the same sort of thing. It's just spreading it wide, and it's so easy to defend against. It's unbelievable, and I think that's why the possession stats are a bit misleading, because as soon as teams go 1-0 up against us, we're so easy to play against. Sit in, let them go wide, let them go wide. When we get an opportunity, we'll make a good opportunity, which teams always do. And then obviously the possession goes way up for us because teams let us have the ball and we don't do anything with it. And I really wanted to see something different. But I just saw exactly what happened at the back end of last season. It was so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I picked up on when I asked the question again, what has actually changed this year? And it's a little bit of a tactical tweak that Luke Williams has been doing consistently, I think, through pre-season and now in the first 2 games. And I'm not quite sure I'm a fan of it, I'll be totally honest. So the way they're setting up, it's not necessarily a 4-3-3 as it might look like or seem like, but it's more of a 4-1-4-1, I would argue, with Grimes sitting on his own in the midfield and Franco and Felton on this occasion further forward. I would say Felton perhaps a bit further forward than Franco, but Grimes definitely a lot deeper. And I think you mentioned there last week, Ben, that Grimes is dropping in as a third centre-back, allowing the wing-backs then also to get forward. But for me, yes, you get a lot of Grimes good attributes out of him where he's just keeping the ball and rotating it. But from that deep, I don't think he can be as clinical as what he can be as well. And I'm not sure, Felton's had a lot of criticism. I'm not here to necessarily jump on him because I don't think being further forward is where you're getting the best out of Felton either. And he's not the most creative player. So we're struggling in the middle for reasons combined with this situation here. Personally, I think we're limited in the centre attacking midfield, the sort of area where they're pushing Felton into now and again. For a start, you've got Ollie Cooper, who clearly can't get in the team. And Felton's playing ahead of him in that role. That's a massive red flag and question mark for me there. And secondly, I'd much rather it the other way around, where Felton is the one that's sitting deep and dropping in as a third centre-back, and Grimes is further forward, where he can use his quality passing to unlock the defences in more sort of dangerous positions rather than in our centre-back area, where he's just trying to get it forward. Because he's getting it forward to players who then are struggling to get it into the danger zone. There's no one to do that. Grimes is probably the midfielder who's got the quality to do it, but he's the deepest. It's obviously a clear tactical choice from Luke Williams where he wants Matt Grimes to be, and we know full well he can do that role excellently, but we're missing something still in between midfield and attack that nobody seems to be able to provide at the moment. We're going wide to find the solutions, but we don't have the personnel in the middle to take advantage then. And I found even against Gillingham when Vipotnik did start, they weren't even crossing to him. They were trying to cut back all the time and cut into the box and play on the floor. And they weren't even putting the ball in the box for him. So I'm just a bit confused, really, with what we're trying to achieve in terms of goal scoring.
Yeah, it's definitely a fair point with Grimes and Felton, particularly because, as you mentioned with Borough, they were happy for us to have the ball for long periods of time passing around the back. There was no real urgency on the press. They weren't pressing until we were actually coming into their territory. So if you had Felton dropping in, unless they start pressing us, there isn't really a major concern there. And you see how impressive Grimes is as he progresses further up the pitch in terms of unlocking defences. He's capable of it. He just rarely has a platform to do it because he sat so far back, beginning our attacks, playing out. So, like you say, Ollie Cooper isn't getting game time. We've been linked with Noel Malesco, Gaswan Cam, and there's been a boy from Liverpool been linked with on loan as well. So maybe that's the missing link. We just need a number 10 in, but we're 2 weeks off the end of the window. We probably still need another 4 or 5 signings. It's not an ideal position to be in when you're talking about Grimes and Felton being so key where we're playing them. We brought Franco in potentially so Felton could sit on the bench. And Felton's still a starter for the meantime.
Yeah, it's concerning that the fact that we thought the midfield cover was Felton, Grimes, Franco, and then Allen when he's back. But Allen's injured and the other 3 are starting. So, we're saying about a squad depth, but all of a sudden, do we need another midfielder if that's the way he's going to be operating them? But I know they're probably operating that way because of other areas that we don't have personnel in. But I don't know, it asks a lot of questions. You've got Abdoulaye, technically his first choice position is centre midfield as well. Is he the person that can sit in the middle and drive forward? Can he do a better job in the middle? Because I think there's a question mark over his ability on the wing. I think anyone's questioning that he hasn't got a role to play in his team. But he really struggled out wide in this game. I think Ji-Sung, who made his debut on the other side, I wasn't expecting him to see him on the right. I know they did switch, I think, at some point in the half. But he definitely put in a better performance than Abdoulaye, who is more settled at the club, but obviously maybe a bit more uncomfortable on the wing. And obviously his moment of madness, if you like, is what cost us the game in the end. But I personally think we probably still would have lost. But yeah, that's not what you want in big games like this, is someone making that sort of decision as well in the box.
Yeah, I don't understand the reluctance to play Abdullah in the middle. I mean, it's clear that he is a midfielder, so why not give him? He doesn't ever seem to get a go there, not even in the cup game. I don't understand it, because he obviously that is his preferred position, but I can't recall any time when he's even played in midfield for even a minute for the first team. So I don't understand that, especially they keep wanting to play him out on the wing, and he's clearly not comfortable on the wing.
It's been wing or win back, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah, like I said, he's done. In all fairness to him, I think sign of a good player. I mean, he's not playing at non-league level. He's playing championship. He's playing as a winger in the championship, where he's clearly not comfortable and still able to put in some sort of performance. But yeah, he's definitely got a role to play in the team, but not on the wing. Yeah.
Thoughts on Abdullah and the situation in midfield, Ben, if with him not really getting a look in?
Yeah, I'd echo those words. I feel like we probably had depth there last season, which is why he was covering at wing back before he got injured. Obviously, his pretty much entire season was curtailed through multiple injuries. This year, I was really hoping and expecting, particularly that number 10 position, he could make it his own, as we mentioned a couple of podcasts ago. Considering Ollie Cooper's on the bench, I was kind of expecting he may have had a role there at some point. It hasn't happened. Again, I don't know why. Obviously, playing with wingers, we have got Janelli, but he's injured, so that's probably why he's having to cover for the meantime. But for me, exactly, it's the same opinion. I'd try him there. Why not? I mean, he's played there many years through the youth academies and that, so it's not as if this is a new position for him. It is his regular position. It feels a bit like Latibordia when he was a centre-back, sticking him out a wing-back. He knows a good player in there. We never really got to see it because he never played there. He's gone on to Coventry now and actually gets to play centre-back, and he was one of their best players last season in a team that, very nearly could have gone up if the season didn't fall away at the end of the year. So hopefully he gets to play there. Maybe when more signings come into a wingers, he'll get more of a shot in midfield at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I understand why he started there. I think they were a bit limited in this game specifically, but Ollie Cooper is someone that has regularly been deployed on the left for us, and he's on the bench, and Abdullah starting in a position that perhaps isn't his. I don't know, bit odd for me. Not to say Ollie Cooper's a solution. I think he did okay against Gillingham, but I think he's still not the player that we all thought and have seen him be in the past. So whether he can recapture that form, but it just seems like he's struggling. Just in the middle, there's no space and not really getting anything out of him.
Yeah, I think going forward as well, or like on the wing thing, I think like Ronald was injured, wasn't he? I think the plan is probably to have him and on the wings. Maybe starting. I'd imagine that's the plan. And then Janelli to come in as well. But
I mean, can even move inside. He can play through the middle. So if he's a solution, then you have Ronald and Janelli, or this. We'll talk about him later, but there's a link with the Liverpool loanee as well. So there could be other options. Cullen's capable.
Definitely need someone in the middle of that midfield, something creative. I know, like Patterson had done it for us. He kind of filled that role a little bit, and where he was a bit more creative in the middle of the field. But I don't know what's going on with him either. So.
Well, I think Patterson's gone, to be honest. I don't expect to see him coming back. Luke Williams made out like they moved on to other targets, and as much as the offer's still on the table, it's on reduced terms, and it looks like Patterson's not interested in that. Maybe it's the length of time thing we mentioned before, but how long do you want to hold out for him? I think we need to just move on, to be honest. And I'm not that bothered, really. I think he had a good season last year, but he had a good season because of these issues where there's no one else to take that position by the scruff of his neck, I think he had more games where he didn't really do anything than he did something. It's just in those games where he did something, he did more than what the rest of the team was doing at the time.
I don't think he can be seen to come back now. That's the issue, because it's been so long.
Yeah.
He'd made to look like he'd move on to something better, a longer term deal. If there's nothing, evidently there's nothing immediately on the table for him that's better. Otherwise, he would have already signed for them. So it'll be a waiting game for him. He's probably smart in waiting at this point, because you can guarantee there's going to be some clubs when the deadline ends haven't done the business they wanted to. maybe they'll get a 1-year deal, but on better money than we would have offered him from somewhere else. Because he is a championship level player still. I do believe that. But also I understand why we didn't offer him a 2-year contract because of that age now. You don't know when the drop-off's going to come.
He hasn't always been the... Well, let's just say he messed us about a few times in the past as well, hasn't he? Which I think, we should do well to remember when we are renegotiating the deal, because he kind of threw his toys out of the pram in the past. So use your deal if you want it, take it. If you don't, tough. I think that's a fair stance from the club.
Yeah, I mean, if if looks like that Middlesbrough might come in, you'd rather sign him than give Patterson another year and then have this same conversation this time next year.
I read earlier Middlesbrough could be about 1.5 mil potentially, though. And we're talking about a guy who's only had 6 months of good form in his entire life and is in the Swedish league. So I think that would be a hell of a punt. At 1.5 million.
Yeah, it would be.
I got a little bit more on him later, actually, as well. So we'll come back to him. A couple more things from this game then. We obviously mentioned Abdullah. Let's just talk about the penalty specifically. Penalty for both of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I just don't really know what he was thinking.
I saw plenty of people say it wasn't, it's only light, but as soon as you're on the wrong side of someone, you're giving the ref a decision to make them. It's a bit subjective, but you can't. I wouldn't be complaining about it. It didn't look like any of us complained about it.
I mean, it wasn't the biggest contact, that's fair to say, but at the same time, he's coming from behind and there's a swinging leg in there and the running player in the box. They're always going to go down. And regardless of whether you think it was enough or not enough contact, just don't ask the question.
Yeah, it's so reckless as well. There's defenders in front of him as well. There's cover there, and he just I don't know what he's thinking at that point. He just bit of a wild tackle from behind, like you said, with defenders in front of him. I don't know why he's done it, but yeah.
I know he was hooked at half time. I don't know if it was pre-planned or not. Obviously, Ronald coming back from injury, so maybe 45 minutes was already on the cards. But he did make a little bit of an instant impact, I think, in this game. Not that he'd created like an abundance of chances or anything really of note, but I think in terms of running out the defence and trying stuff, he did look a bit better out on the wing.
Yeah, definitely. Good impact off the bench. I doubt Abdullah got pulled from a poor performance. I don't think Luke Williams would have done that. We saw he played, what was it, about 70-odd minutes against Gillingham then. It's probably just building up his fitness. Ronald.
Yeah. Although I will say about Ronald, as much as I said he made an instant impact, I think he fell into the trap that we saw quite often last season, where he had about 10 or 15 minutes of being high energy, high impact, and then it kind of fizzled out into not as much.
Yeah, the worry is though, like we said, we've so limited in attacking options. We're so reliant on him to do something. Like that was the same last season. I think he just ran out of gas in the end. And we saw with the Gillingham game, everything had to go through him on that side. And I think it was similar to the Middlesbrough game. If he doesn't do anything, then we kind of have no options. We haven't got that X factor player where you can just kind of hope that they create something out of nothing. And if he doesn't do that, which is a big ask for him to kind of carry the attacking burden by himself. And championship defenders are not stupid. They become wise to it, don't they? But hopefully, like we said, Ginnelly coming back and hopefully can kind of offer a different threat as well. But that's kind of what I saw in that game as well, was it's so reliant on him to do something.
Well, let's kind of merge the two games, because there's not an awful lot to talk about with the Middlesbrough. Regardless of what we've mentioned, there's a few individual players we might still touch on, but in terms of the performance itself, this wasn't really anything to talk about in the second half. A couple of chances that Middlesbrough probably should have scored. I think there was one where, I don't know who it was, should have squared it across for a tap-in, and they didn't, so we got away with one there. I caught on the break a few times, actually, but other than that, Ronald then, you said about he did look against Middlesbrough like he could be, not Middlesbrough, Gillingham, like he could be the player to do the same job on the other side. I think he had some moments of quality actually when he came on in the second half, and obviously Ronald had their moments in the first half. Specifically the first half, I think Ronald was trying to do it all himself, but he was also cutting in quite often and trying to take shots from like the outside of the box on his right foot. He started on the left. We only really saw him start on the right last season. Do you think there's been a conscious decision to move him over to the left so he can do this cutting in, trying to take shots?
He's very good at going both ways, isn't he? So it probably makes more sense for him to be starting on the left, because then he can take it left and then chip it towards the back post, or he can cut in on his right and do what he did and curl one in from the edge of the box. Whereas if he's on the right side, he's cutting in on his left foot. I don't think any defender's really going to seriously think, oh, he's going to curl that into the back post of his left foot now. So I can understand that. It's interesting, though, because you got Janelli, who's very much a left winger. You got Sung, who primarily is a left winger. It's nice to have these options, but it feels like something's got to give. They can't all play on that side. So I wouldn't be surprised if, with fully fit, Ronald ends up back on the right. But we'll see.
Yeah, it could be because Abdullah has to play as well on the wing, that he can probably only play on the right.
Well, he started against Middlesbrough on the left, Abdullah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's where he gave the penalty away from as well. It was on the left side.
I think we've talked about it a bit before. A lot of these players, they're not like stuck in one position. Like Abdullah, I don't think should be on the wing when we have options. But Ji-sung, I think left wing and Cam. Ronald seems to be both wings. Janelli can even end up front. Cullen can come back to Cam. So it's nice that they can move about as and when it needed. It's only really for Potnick, who's stuck in that number 9 position and isn't going to move from there.
Yeah, but Ji-sung, I can't remember who he was, but he absolutely rinsed one of the players when he came on. He was quite good actually, and he had a hand in one of the goals as well. So he got his first assist, I believe.
Did look sharp when he came on.
He won a lot of people over when he came on. Like the context is he was coming on against a League Two team who had been down to 10 men, so he was tired. And other than maybe Harry Darling on the bench and Ronald had come off, we were full strength at this point as well. But honestly, he got in behind, what was it, about 5 times in 15, 20 minutes. He did really, really well. And if he can do half of that against Preston, I think he could have a good performance there.
As much as I'm going to kind of talk about my frustrations with that game as well in a minute, and the fact that it was a League Two opposition, for a new player coming in from a completely different league, settling in a completely different country, I think what matters for him is, we were seeing him pick his head up, take players on, pick his head up, make them passes, and build his confidence. I think that's what's important, regardless of the opposition, for a player like him.
Yeah.
If he was a player that'd been here for a lot longer, then I think maybe like the fact that it's a League Two team, and if he's not doing that regularly, you'd have concerns. But hopefully he can use this as a platform to build on going forward. And if Ronald can, we saw him doing it a few times last season. I think there was also a few dud games. But part of that I think we talked about was perhaps when Plaheta got injured and it was an over-reliance of going down his side, it was easier to defend against. So if they got them both going down each side, maybe that helps both of them get more space and be able to do what they do best and create chances, because we need something to change for us to start scoring more goals anyway.
Yeah, I think as well, to be fair, I know obviously it's against League Two opposition, so it's hard to kind of judge, and then they go down to 10 men. It's kind of hard to see where we are, but I think that probably shows what the game plan is, because like Ronald had so much joy, didn't he, down his side, especially in the first half, and then when he came on, had so much joy. So I think that's the way they're trying to play, with a heavy reliance on the wingers kind of getting in behind. But it just depends whether or not it works against. Well, it didn't work against Middlesbrough. It depends or not whether it works against, Championship opposition, where they're a bit more streetwise. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see how they do.
I think the big difference we saw against Gillingham compared to Borough is, whereas Norton, a right back, was staying back, you had Choahon making his debut at left back, and he was always making an inside run off the left wing inside into the half space. And when he was doing that, the right back was sticking with Choahon in case he received the ball. And then that just left Ronald to receive the ball, time and space, pick his head up, and then one-on-one just driving at the defender. Against Borough, it was very much a flat back four that wasn't allowed to move. Because you had, as I mentioned earlier, the pace of Isaiah Jones, particularly, who was just rinsing us the entire 90 minutes, pretty much, when he was on the pitch. So against Preston, hopefully we can see Josh Key and Josh Simon, step up a bit more, help the wingers out, because yes, it does leave us more prone to a counter attack, but especially at Championship level, playing the ball into a winger with his back to a defender and he has to try and beat 2 men, it's just not going to work most of the time.
Yeah.
Nathan Choahon, then, he just mentioned, did make his debut in this game, long awaited, I think a year in the making for Swansea City, and much to the delight of many fans, continental, I think. But yeah, I think he put in a good shift. What do you make of his first start for the Swans?
I wasn't as impressed as Twitter seemed to be, I gotta be honest. Like, you got to add the context that the entire back four really weren't challenged for pretty much the entire game. I was interested. I was just watching him and only him a lot of the time, just to see what he'd do, his movements. The attacking runs, brilliant. He's obviously been told, just keep making that run for Ronald. I have no, qualms there. He looked fairly comfortable on the ball, but in terms of just positioning after he played the ball, where to stand in defensive transition, I wasn't particularly sold on him, I gotta be honest. That's just the impression it gave me is at championship level, he'd get caught out quite easily. But obviously, that's just a hypothetical. I don't want to be too harsh because he hasn't been tested at that level to make that judgment yet.
Yeah, and he also haven't had many opportunities to try and learn from the mistakes that he might make. Because I think if we're fair, Josh Tymon did make a lot of those same errors when he first joined, and he was caught out quite a lot defensively, I think, during the beginning of his Swansea stint. Now, I'm not trying to say Nathan Shaw is on that level or will be near that level anytime soon, but I think as a backup, considering we haven't seen him for a year and he wasn't really utilised at all last season, maybe, he can have a part to play when he's needed to be called upon. I thought he did okay. I don't think he did anything special. And I think you're right in saying that he made some good space for Ronald, made some good movements there. I think also you're right to point out we didn't really see enough of him defensively to judge, but some of it I think was a bit, okay, maybe against better teams, yeah, you would get caught out. But I also think it wasn't the sort of moment that we had when we first played Frank Taberneau in that role. So, I mean,
yeah,
wow,
that's definitely
also,
a good.
We talk about Tymon. He actually was probably at fault for the goal that we conceded against Gillingham because we had two players out on the far right for Gillingham after the set piece. Unji pressed straight out as he should have to press the man on the ball. Nobody followed it up, so it's maybe a bit harsh to blame just Tymon, but it was that left back, so you'd expect your left back to be getting straight back out in a position to close the cross down. So even Josh Tymon, still makes mistakes. The difference with Tymon, obviously, is attacking output's probably for left backs at least top 5 in the league. So he makes up for it there.
Yeah, indeed.
I thought he looked right going forward when he came on as well, and so did Key. He put in 2 lovely balls. Josh Key did when he came on.
He made an instant impact, didn't he?
I know. We got to take it with a pinch of salt because, like you said, coming on against a tired League 2 defence with 10 men, but his delivery is always quality. Josh Key, I think he's great on the ball. He's great when he came on. I think
the point is they actually put a ball in the box and someone ran onto it. So you didn't have Vipotnik making them runs and you didn't have anyone making the crosses before that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to call Vipotnik out, but he's still learning, I guess, the way that we want to play. But no one's putting the box in. Why are you going to keep making runs? No one's putting the ball in the box. Why are you going to keep making runs? But Cullen obviously came on full of energy and Key found him instantly. I don't think we tried to do that really at all, other than a few in the first half of Ronald until he started trying to do it himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to see anyway them combining for an instant impact. Carl Norton obviously was on the receiving end of the challenge that got a red card. I think he had a decent game in defence, and Pedersen as well, the one that we haven't really touched on. I think people were probably expecting him to move on this summer after kind of a bit of a dud start of his Swans career and then got sent out on loan. I think he only made 4 appearances last season. But I think he looked okay. I think we tweeted about it earlier, Ben, and had a brief discussion. I don't necessarily think he's the first choice starting centre-back, but I think he's a solid option to be part of the first team, and we haven't got the most amount of cover there right now. I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of him currently.
He's left-footed, which obviously left-footed centre-backs coming at a premium at a minute because everyone wants a left-footed centre-back for playing out the back. He is on big wages, as far as I'm aware, so probably having some trouble shifting him. I think it was Sheffield Wednesday took him on loan last year, and I think he got injured straight away. Can't imagine there's tons of interest there. Looking at this stage of the window, you'd imagine he stays here at least until January, so happy to have him around the squad. But like you say, if we're relying on him to be a starter, it'd be a concern.
Harry Darling was on the bench. Lissa played in the youth team earlier in the week, so he's obviously ahead of him in the pecking order. Norton's playing pretty much as our second choice right back, so it puts him our third centre-back really in line at the moment, Pedersen.
Yeah, which is a bit concerning, if I'm honest. I feel like you'd rather him there than Norton, just I don't think Norton will have the legs, and maybe in a 2 he'd struggle a bit more physically. If it's a back 3, you'd rather have Norton, 100%. Norton on the far, right centre-back, but yeah, we'll see.
Is he not similar age? He's 30.
Pedersen. Norton's like 36.
Yeah, no, 34, I think. 35. He's in between.
35.
No, Pedersen's 30 and Norton's 35. So I was a bit off with my first statement. Right. I will.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't get too concerned when Norton plays, other than the longevity of his legs. Like 60 minutes in, you're maybe looking for a sub already. So that's not ideal in the defensive positions, because often if you're playing centre back, you don't really want to be changing them. I don't know. I'm not fully in agreement on Pedersen with what you're saying. I do understand the concerns, but I'm happy to see him a little bit longer. I think he's only had 5 Swans games, so under 3 managers maybe. So I mean, we'll see.
I think the issue is, I'm not going to get too concerned about the depth. I know everyone's talking about the depth at the moment. I think is probably a concern, but I'm pretty sure we are going to bring in a couple more bodies before the window shuts. But with someone like Pedersen, I think, because there's only 3 centre halves, and you got clearly Cabango and Darlin will be the first choice too. If one of them gets injured, which previous season says Cabango is due to have a stint out because he seems to have a spell out a lot. I know if you've got Pedersen, say Pedersen and Darlin starting as your 2 centre halves, I think I think that is concerning for me, because I think we'd struggle. We already struggled defensively, and I think that would be a problem.
Well, picture Darling gets injured now against Preston, comes to South Wales derby, you'd have Cabango and Pedersen in the back.
I'd be a bit more concerned then, but not because of Pedersen necessarily coming into the team. I'm more concerned as Darlin that's not in the team, because for me, Cabango is also itching towards the not good enough for Cabango. So I'm not saying Pedersen's the answer at all. I'm just saying as cover, I'm not concerned. I wouldn't also be concerned if Cabango is part of a 4-man defensive team. But I think we need a strong starting centre-back brought in. I just don't know if we're going to get that. Cabango, I think, had a really bad game against Middlesbrough. He was fine against Gillingham, but all of the defence was. But I think there's been a few occasions over the last few years, Cabango's not learning from some things that he doesn't do very well. And I don't know how long you give before that's an issue.
I mean, it's his turning arc, and when you give pace and agility against him, it doesn't come in all teams. But, you know, Isaiah Jones, he can't deal with it. Like, it is his weak spot. When it comes to a more physical team where he has to deal with aerial balls, even 1v1s, for the most part, he is fine. But when someone knocks it past him, he can't sometimes cover it.
Yeah. But that's all I would be concerned at, is like Pedersen as a backup centre-back. And I think Cabango, if you make a strong signing, he's also a backup centre-back. Personally, that's what I'm currently putting him in my sort of Swans picture, I guess. Like, I'm not trying to criticise him. I just think that's where he is in terms of his quality at the moment.
It's weird, the lack of transfer links. I realise, obviously, a lot more is kept under wraps these days, but I can't really recall any links to a centre-back the whole summer. And we got 2 weeks out until we're done now.
Well, I thought Lissa was going to be brought forward, and maybe he had a season ahead of him, but to see him included in the under-21s and then not even get... Well, he wouldn't have been in that game if he was going to feature in the Gillingham game, would he? So that, to me, signalled that maybe he's not
it's
where he needs to be. I don't know. He was on the bench a few times last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he made the bench a few times last year, and then he won, like, Academy Player of the Year, didn't he, as well? So, and from what I've heard from some people as well, that he's, like, supposed to be the next big thing to come out of the Academy. So,
and he can play right back, can he? So that's another area we could do with extra cover.
Yeah, for him to not be involved, particularly against Gillingham, especially when we are short in that area, was
surprising.
So
the other one that didn't get involved, as much as he was on the bench, Josh Thomas. I think when the game was kind of won at 2-0, I expected him, especially against 10 men, I expected him to come on. I thought maybe he would drop Cullen in as Cam again and perhaps put Josh Thomas up top. But to bring on, I understand why he made the subs that he did. He probably wants to get his first team ready as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen Josh Thomas get a run out.
Yeah, the sub surprised me. I'm surprised Lissa wasn't there. I'm surprised Ronald was risked to stay on the pitch for as long as he did. I was surprised when I saw Cullen come on. I thought they'd give Josh Thomas a go, to be honest, because you got to back him to be good enough. If he's in the squads, you know, especially I think the game would have suited him. He's got pace again behind. You look like how well did on the left wing, similar, but through the middle.
mean, he came on against Middlesbrough for his Swansea City debut. He was on the pitch for a total of like 3 minutes and picked up a yellow card.
Was it 3 minutes? It felt like about 45 seconds, I'm not gonna lie.
I think because he came in at a corner stoppage, maybe it might have been less, but regardless, the point is he picked up a yellow card and debut to remember, I guess. Defended a corner, picked up a yellow, and the full-time whistle blew. Sorry, not defended a corner, it was an attacking corner. I think they had a break the other way, which he pulled down to pick the card up. But yeah, I was surprised he didn't get on the pitch. Anything else either of you wants to discuss from the last 2 games? I'll have a look at my notes if I've missed anything.
I don't know if the one thing I did notice that was different is he's really doing these corners now, isn't he? I know we've all seen the viral video of me about his corners. I quite liked it. I think especially yesterday against Gillingham, you could see it working a bit more. I think I quite like the idea because notoriously we never score from corners anyway. And I can see what he's saying. You know, when he says like, "Oh, you don't give the defenders a chance to rest," and 9 times out of 10 they just clear it away, especially in the Championship. They've probably got good enough defenders like Cabango, like we just said. That's his bread and butter, isn't it? Just defending corners and being a bit more physical. So I quite liked it. They never got a chance to rest. It's just we have all this possession. It goes out. It's straight back down. We're straight back in possession. There's no respite for the defence. So I quite like the idea, but let's just see how it works, throughout the season. That's one thing I noticed, that we're doing that a lot more.
We saw that work. Ronald scored from a move like that. Yeah. One thing I have noticed, we did it in the preseason game against Rio Ave. We did it against Gillingham. Obviously, we didn't do it against Borough because it's kind of reliant on the ball boys giving you the ball quick enough to get it down and play. Yeah. So it's definitely a tactic that only really works best at home. I'd be surprised if we see it as much away from home. The other thing I noticed, again, I don't think we did it against Borough. We did it against Gillingham, was the fullbacks when we're in possession. Similar to what Trent Alexander-Arnold does for Liverpool without damning Trent Alexander-Arnold's ability, obviously. You see Josh Key going to right centre-mid sometimes. You'll see Josh Timon going to left centre-mid sometimes. The other full-back then will probably stick wide and allow the winger to come inside a bit. It mixes it up a bit. It's like positional rotation just to mess with the opposition slightly, pull them out of shape. So we'll see if that improves in the coming weeks.
Well, hopefully all of these new ideas are the reason that perhaps our chance creation is down while they're still embedded and learning them. I know we've been quite harsh in some areas today, but it's only because we kind of, it's always said, oh, he needs a pre-season. He took over in January. It was just a learning curve. He had half the season to kind of get started on this style, and we just thought we'd come out a little bit. I'm not saying we would have beat Middlesbrough, but I thought we'd see a little bit more of where we're going, and I'm not sure it was all present, but I think we are a few faces down in the squad from where we need to be, and there's a few injuries there, obviously Ronald and stuff. So I think we'll judge it better in a couple of weeks, of course. But yeah,
I think that's it. I think after a couple of games, we'll kind of see it. I think it was just all the frustrations that we had last season were there to see again in the first games. I mean, no shots on target. First game of the season is just not what you want to see. That was concerning for me because. Yeah. It was just, we didn't look like we had any attacking threat. And I think first game of the season, I don't know, people might not agree with me, but I think it's a bit more of a free hit where, if that game's at the middle of the season where teams are in form or where you are, like, Middlesbrough could be playoff pushing or something, you might, the game is different. But the first game of the season, it's like, right, let's just chuck it out there. We've worked on this all summer. Let's give it a go in a competitive game. And we saw nothing. So that's why I was a little bit concerned. But like you said, I think there's we're one game into the season, so we'll give it a proper sort of look at once we've seen a couple more league games.
The one thing I'm overly concerned that we haven't touched on is our defending. I think it's been an issue ever since Russell Martin was here. Duff was brought in to kind of sort it out, and he didn't, which is probably why he ultimately lost his job because he changed the play style and still didn't fix that. What I will say is Duff scored a lot more goals than what Luke Williams is kind of showing, created more chances as well. The difference between the two for me so far is when we couldn't defend under Michael Duff, we probably maybe conceded more and it looked worse because we were having less of the ball and it looked like we were getting more battered. But now our game plan is so heavily focused around having the ball. Again, in the 60% possessions against Middlesbrough, I think that's masking a lot of our bad defending, but the fact that they're still creating all of these chances and so many chances with the less of the ball, similar theme to what we had under Russell Martin, really. I think that's why it looked so much worse for Michael Duff, because we were perhaps conceding about the same amount of goals, but it was a more of a balanced game in regards to like 50-50 possession in terms of both teams. One game, for example, 3-2 away to West Brom, stuff like that was happening. We don't necessarily see games like that now, but when we go in like 65% possession but still losing games 1-0, 2-0, you're basically conceding the same amount of chances or more chances, or for me, you're defending worse because the team's having less ball and still doing the same damage. I think that's the concern. I don't think he's got on top of that in the summer. I think there's still some cause for concern there. Some of the breaks that Middlesbrough are having, and even the goal we conceded against Gillingham as well, like that was shocking. We should not be conceding in those circumstances, as you pointed out, I think, in our WhatsApp chat, Ben. Like, Gillingham down to 10 men. We're in complete control of that game, absolutely dominated them, 2-0 up, and we can see just a goal from their one opportunity that they created. One time they had the ball in our half, in the second half, and they scored.
And it was due to just not tracking your man as well. 2 men out wide, 1 man went out to meet them. That's just, basic maths.
Yeah. I'm not sure Go on.
No, I was going to say, like, on another day as well. Like, and in that second half, we absolutely battered them. The keeper made some good saves as well, and we could have been out of sight. And then we can see such a soft goal, and then all of a sudden it's 2-1. I think they had like another long throw that anything in it. If they had scored, I know obviously they didn't, and it probably looked like they were never going to score again. But in a league game, those things are still happening there. Like we've again, similar things from last season.
One used to cost us like a lot. We'd be 2-0 up and concede a goal, and all of a sudden no one has confidence that we will get over the line. And I felt like that watching the game. I think Gillingham, as much as they literally didn't touch the ball in the second half, they scored that goal, and then there was a couple of minutes after where they had the ball a little bit, and they were in our half a little bit. I'm not going to lie, I had a bet on, and I literally cashed out on my bet that I had Swans in an accumulator just because they scored, and I was like, no, I can see what's going to happen here. I had no faith, and they got over the line in the end, but I just think it was a poor goal to concede there. As much as it was good things on display, overall, that was one of the big negatives that leaked through against opposition 2 tiers lower who had a man down, and that's not great.
Yeah, that was. I know that the defending was poor, but goalkeeping as well was a bit harsh. Am I harsh to say I think he should have done better?
Maybe he should have, but he's been out of action for like over a year, and you've got to give him a little bit longer, I think, to kind of find his feet again. But it is fair to call it out. Rushworth got off to a bad start when he signed for us last year. He made a couple of howlers early on.
It was a good header into the floor. Give it after the striker who scored. But
it was a good header, no fairness. It just seemed like he took about 4 days to get down. Yeah.
He's lanky, isn't he?
He is tall. He's quite big as a unit, isn't he? So that's why I thought, like, he did seem to take a while to get down to the floor. It was a good header, though, in all fairness. I mean, that's where you're going to put it. And I don't know if I'm being harsh, but more criticism on the defending rather than the goalkeeping. But
just a couple of dodgy moments with the ball at his feet as well that I think hopefully get ironed out. But there hasn't been one that's cost us anything yet. So I'm sure if there is one, we'll discuss it. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for the games anyway. Plenty more, I'm sure, to discuss in the coming weeks. We probably missed out on some things, so let us know in the comments if there's anything you want to mention about the Middlesbrough and the Gillingham game, anything you saw that you're not happy with, or perhaps you like the sign of some of the new themes and things that Luke Williams has brought to the team. But let us know in the comments. A couple of bits of news then. We're not going to spend too long on this. We'll kind of just rush through them, I guess, because we want to get onto our table. Andy Fisher looks like he could be out for several months. I don't have a timestamp on maybe potential return, but I think maybe like 6 months, was it?
Was it that much? It was groin surgery, wasn't it? So it's not going to be a quick one.
I think, well, maybe not 6 months. So what I'm picturing is like January sort of time after Christmas, I think. So it's probably not quite 6 months, but you know what I mean? Half a season, probably at least on the sidelines. But Luke Williams was teasing it's maybe Rushworth again. I don't know if he's just doing that because that's what the fans want. I don't know how much is in that in terms of how much it can actually happen. But
I'd be shocked if after spending money on the Guru, one of only 4 signings, he ends up being number 2. But we'll see.
I think he said something like Rushworth and Viguru would be like the best pairing of goalkeepers in the league.
Fisher's crying reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a nice thing to see, is it, I guess. Safe standing was introduced into the stadium in the east and north stands, some for the away fans and in the corner next to the away stand. Any thoughts on this?
Sensible. Everyone stands up there anyway, don't they? May as well make it safer.
They have said there's a 0 tolerance to standing if you're not in the safe standing area.
Yeah, well, they're not going to enforce it, are they? How do you kick out 2,500 people?
Well, they're saying they're going to enforce it. Whether they do or not, I don't know.
No.
Nah, it's just to say it's been the same for years and years and years, and then everyone stands. It's like you remember the day you stand in a away end and they try and get people to sit down. It's just yes. So you may as well just put it should have happened years ago. You may as well just put the safe standing bars in.
Yeah, new floodlights at the ground, and also the beams, I think, on top of the stands have been painted. Just a little bit of sprucing up the stadium. I think you stand to show a bit of age, but the new floodlights is a good addition. I think that's one of the things you probably won't notice and take for granted, but something that perhaps keeps us in line with modern stadiums. I wonder whether they'll introduce them funky light shows a lot of clubs seem to do before kickoffs now.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it. Kev Johns came on the mic and said, please be careful, don't stare into them, they may cause blindness, or something along them lines. I was like, I wasn't planning on doing that anyway, but that implies they're at least brighter than they were before, I suppose.
Yeah, I think they're brighter, more powerful, but also more energy efficient as well. I think LEDs
probably more energy efficient, trying to save some coin.
Yeah, save some coin,
but
it's also good on the environment, isn't it? And that's
yeah, I know. But I'm saying I doubt they do a light show.
Paper cups and all that.
Yeah, I doubt they'll do a light show because like I noticed last season, like literally the final whistle would go and the lights would go off.
I'd rather a new sound system, to be honest. I really would. I guess at halftime, you genuinely can't hear anyone. That's not because they have turned up too loud. If they turn it down any lower, you won't be able to hear them. It's just such a muffled sound.
Yeah.
They have to blare it just so you can understand what's coming through the mic.
Maybe that's on the cards for next season. They seem to be doing bits every year, don't they? But it's a bit slow.
I couldn't go down yesterday, but I'll be keen on Saturday to see what the changes are on the concourse. I was quite vocal about the
we need to
and the
review
cups last year and food, and so I will be having a close look.
We're expecting it. We're having a segment next week, Lee. We need a review on the beer, the food offerings, the prices, the service, all of it. Expecting a full-blown documentary.
I will. It took over my life last season.
I didn't hear very good reviews from last night.
All right, great. They
didn't have enough open, I think.
Yeah, they did iron out the paper cups last year. They got rid of them and brought in those plastic ones, which was better. So
I'm still disappointed there's nothing outside.
I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do it, will they?
Well, that's what they need to do. That's what people are doing now. Get people there longer, spending more money and time at the stadium. But like, I'm not saying rinse your fans. Give them a reason to be there, spending their money longer and enjoying themselves.
Yeah, but they had that fan zone park thing last game of the season. I think that was tidy when they used to do that. They used to put a big screen in there before as well. They didn't do it last time, but I don't know. I think that would be all right if it's got the cover on it as well. It's something.
A little bit of transfer news now. Cade Gordon, Liverpool winger, Orcam, apparently set to join the Swans on loan, according to Fabrizio Romano. But this was a few days ago, and I've not really seen anything since. So do you know if this is actually happening?
I don't. I know there's 3 clubs interested, one of which is us. But other than that, I'm really not sure. Could be one of those ones where we're making a decision over 2 players. We want 2 wingers anyway.
Fabrizio said he was coming for a medical.
Yeah, something's been held up clearly, isn't it?
He's usually quite reliable, isn't he?
Yeah, I read an article saying 24 hours are key, and it's been 2 days since then. So God knows.
Yeah, well, we'll see on that one. Just one to keep an eye on, name there. And you could pronounce the name for me, but Noel Milleskog?
Yeah, Milleskog. I Swedish, I can tell you.
Responded to the transfer rumours around the Swans poaching him. Obviously, we don't know if it's anything concrete, but he basically said Swansea is a big club with a big history. And I think he's basically saying, come and get me. we'll wait and see what happens there. I know you said it was a bit of a big fee, possibly, so perhaps
similar to like Luke Williams last season when he kind of said, "Come and get me," in so many words, and it was quite similar what he said.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is with these transfers, like in saying about the loan as well, I just think it'll be quite quiet now until towards the end of the window. It tends to be the way it is now, that a lot of business gets done so late.
Well, I think a lot of the loans tend to be later when you can't fill the gaps on transfers. You enter the loan. I feel like we will probably we say we need 4 or 5 new faces. I was saying 5 now with the added news about Fisher. Wouldn't shock me if we get 5 loans in, because I think that's the limit as well, isn't it, in a matchday squad?
I'd be disappointed if we end up with 5 loans, because very much the talk was we will become less reliant on them. I feel like we do say this every year, mind. But 5 loans again, I'm just looking ahead to next year. There's a couple of players 1 year in their deal. Again, I feel like the squad's just getting too threadbare.
Yeah.
I think we need 2 permanent in. I really do.
I agree with you, but I just wouldn't be shocked to see that happening.
Yeah.
Depends what business we can get done. Like we said, I like what we've done so far with like the younger players and getting them in longer term deals. So if Millerskog's going to be one of them, how old is he, by the way? Is he
22?
There we go. So that could be another one potentially. I know there's a big fee, but that could be another potential long-term sign in there. And then if we don't find the right replacements for everyone else, and we've got to cover with some loans, not ideal, but I guess we'll have to take it at the minute. But yeah, I agree with you too. I think if we can not have as many loans as we did in the past, last season felt way too many. Even though I know there's a limit, it just last season seemed there was just so many loan players.
Yeah, but they didn't even make that much of an impact, most of them, did they?
No, they rarely do these days. I mean, you've struggled to find. I mean, not that I can remember where we've had a loan player in the last couple of seasons that's really ripped it up. I think it's hard to find.
Rushworth
Rushworth, yeah. But,
although I would say all of the Steve Cooper ones were quite good, actually. But since then, probably Rushworth's the one that stands out.
That's why I had in my head kind of the Steve Cooper team, which was like Brewster and Guehi.
We had England internationals 2 years before they became internationals. You had Conor Gallagher and Guehi, Brewster, along with obviously IU was there, not on loan. But you get my point. Like the quality of that team was nuts. The quality of the loans were nuts. We probably spent as much on the loans as we could now spend on permanent transfers.
Yeah,
it's the thing. They knew our finances were ruined. We needed to go up that year. They went for it and we didn't. So that's where we are now.
If only they got a striker in January that didn't break his leg or whatever he did.
Jordan Morris. What should have been it?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, anyway, let's go on to our table. Don't know if you want to share your screen.
Do we want to do the score predictions first?
Yeah, go on then. Go to the score predictions. So Ben has been doing some handiwork behind the scenes, which we're all very grateful for, on Excel. Whiz kid there. So we got some nice little tables and formulas and stuff to keep track of it this year. So hopefully we'll be consistent with our...
Were you just going to skate past the predictions, Luke? I wonder why you didn't want to that one.
Can you see this all right now?
Early days. I picked the right score just for the wrong team, as we've already discussed. You guys are like
great
goals galore, but
To recap, we went Barrow to win 2-0. I went Barrow to win 2-1. Luke went with a 1-0 win for the Swans. So we're doing it I think Super 6 points wise. So 5 points for correct scoreline, 2 points for correct result, 0 points otherwise. So currently that puts me and Lee on 2 points. Luke yet to get off the mark. So are we going to do Preston prediction now? We got to, right?
Yeah. So obviously Preston, just a bit of overview. They have sacked their manager, of course, before we play them. Well, it took 2 games this year before we had to play a team that sacked their manager before we play them. Probably a new record. I think they've lost 6 league games in a row over the 2 seasons now, which is why he left on mutual consent. So sets all up for a lovely result for the Swans on the weekend.
Next year, we will be doing one at the Liberty since 1974 or something. It's just all set.
There was a bit of handbacks, wasn't there? Like a season or 2 ago with Joe Allen.
Yeah.
So he's gone now, though. So I guess that won't be a thing anymore. But yeah, we'll be doing a preview. I'll be doing a preview with a Preston-based podcast. I think they're called I can't remember what they're called. Something about a pie.
The butter pie, is it that one?
Yeah, that's it. I can't remember. Something about a butter pie podcast. So it's a home game. Otherwise, I would say try a butter pie, but you can't, don't you? But yeah, so I'll be doing that later in the week. So keep an eye out for that. But in terms of predictions, I think I said this earlier to you before we started recording. Just because of the way the fixture list has been published, we've got Cardiff next week. And I don't know who they're playing this weekend. Has anyone got that information up to hand?
Burnley away. Yeah, Burnley away.
Okay, so I think it's massively in our interest to win this game. So I'm going to call it a bit of a must-win going into the derby, knowing that we obviously want to win that, and that is a must-win for different reasons. They are going to probably have a hard time against Burnley, so could be coming to the derby looking for their first win. Now, we know how much pressure that put on us last year when we had a really bad performance away from home, not managing to win a game before it, and it really was a bad day. So I think Swans need to win this one. And I'm going to say 2-1 to Swansea.
Yeah. I think we're going to be the favourites in the game purely because of how bad Preston were against Sheffield United, and it seems like they're on a bit of a low point at the minute. Mike Marsh, former coach under Steve Cooper, in temporary charge. I don't think we have tons of attacking outlet at the minute, though, so I would be going just for a basic 1-0. Hopefully the defence holds up all right.
I'm not as optimistic as you two. I hope I'm wrong, but I am going to really struggle to see us, like Ben said, score a lot of goals. But also, I don't think we can defend either. So I'm going to go for a 1-1.
There we are. So result predictions: leave a draw. Myself and Luke with home wins, and then we'll update that in the next podcast after that results come in.
That the derby is way too early in it because it just needs to get out of the way already.
It's just changed I don't know, the dynamic of it's just completely different to normal.
Way too early. Yeah.
Do you know what? We've had a good time the last few years, and we've always had the games at similar times. Barring last year's 2-0 away, you know, we've been quite successful with October and March or whatever it is. Bit of a shame.
Yeah, I think we've still got, always got one eye on that game anyway, but 2 games into the season and you're still, oh shit, the derby's next week. I think, it's kind of ruining the start of the season, really.
It's nuts to think the next season's video is probably going to be focused on it, actually. Next week's video, I should say. That's
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird.
We've discussed our first league game, and on next week we're going to be talking about before the derby. Ben, do you want to pull up the 1 to 24s?
Yeah.
So obviously, as I said, we've already tweeted these out. So if you haven't seen them already, they're on Twitter for all 3 of us. So what we've basically done, and I'm sure Ben will explain this a bit better in a second, but we've got the 3 of our tables that we did we did them ourselves. We didn't do them all exactly at the same time, so we had seen each other's a little bit before certain people did theirs. I was last, I'll be totally honest. But I didn't use any of their ideas to base my table. But what we've done is combine all 3 into a SwansCast prediction. So Ben, I don't know if you want to talk through how it works.
Yeah, sure. So we can see this on the screen now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work as well for anyone on Spotify, so apologies for that. But there's 4 sets of tables on the screen. 1 for myself, 1 for Luke, 1 for Lee. So these are individual predictions where we didn't really talk to each other. This is what we thought the championship would look like. Then the table on the furthest to the right is the average of our 3 individual tables. So this table is as close as you can get to the average of the 3 from top to bottom. The simplest way of putting it. So the official SwansCast 1 to 24 prediction is this one in light blue on the end.
So we'll go through them quickly. What I'll do is I'll quickly read out the significant positions for our individual ones. So for myself, I've got Leeds to win the league, Burnley to go up in automatic promotion spot, Middlesbrough, Norwich, Coventry and Sheffield United in the playoffs. Swansea, I've got them in 9th. Cardiff, I've got them in 14th. The bottom 3, I've got Blackburn, Plymouth and Oxford. Ben, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, so I have automatic promotion spots of Leeds as champions and Coventry in 2nd. Playoff spots of Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United, Borough. Swans in 11th with Cardiff in 18th. And then the bottom 3 of Plymouth, Watford and then Blackburn bottom, which I already regret. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
And Lee?
Yeah, well, I think we've gone for the clean sweep of Leeds as champions, and so I've got Leeds as well at the top. Burnley,
I know, a good start for them,
second.
wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Burnley second, and then my playoff teams are Sheffield United, West Brom, Luton, and Norwich. I've got Cardiff at 8th, which I'm already regretting, and Swans in 13th. And then my bottom three, Blackburn, Oxford, and Plymouth.
After watching the first round of games, I would love to swap Burnley and Leeds, but I can't.
Really?
So
it's too early. It's too early.
Well, I just think, look at the opposition. Like Burnley made a bit of a statement for me against Luton. They're both teams that came down, and I just feel like that squad looks so much more established as a unit.
They did, but I watched the Leeds game against Portsmouth, and there was a spell at the beginning of that game where they could have been about 4 or 5 up, and then it was just a bit of a mad game in the end. Like it was good. Like Portsmouth played well in all fairness, but I think over the course of a season, Leeds will look dangerous, and they'll probably add as well before the end of the window.
Okay, so the combined list then, we'll go through these. So we got, as we've just discussed, Leeds atop. Are we still comfortable with them winning the league then? I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think they had 90 points last season, which in almost any other championship season gets you automatically promoted. They have lost key players. Archie Gray has left the club. Somerville, who was probably best player in the league last year, has also left. It's not to say they haven't lost some key members of the team. Also, though, they have squad depth. You know, Perot is a bench player for them. Just sort of says it all, really, isn't it? They got Rutter and Bamford also. So striking options galore. Obviously, Archie Gray has gone to Spurs, but then they brought Jayden Bogle in. Archie Gray was deputising at right back a lot, so they have sort of replaced him with a top 6 player there. I just think do what they did last year, and I don't see how they don't finish top 2. I have them as first just purely because I feel like they've got some continuity from last season. Same manager, mostly the same squad. You know, Ampadu still there. Rodon's come back after he was on loan. They got him on a permanent now. So you look at the quality in that squad. I think first place.
Yeah, I think fair. And also what I would say is Ben is going to be the guy with all the information here. I had a quick glance at his notes before the video and I was very impressed. So I'm sure you will fulfill us with all the information we need about all of these teams and why they should be in the positions that we have them. Burnley, you mentioned about Leeds continuity. We've got Burnley in second. Connor Roberts has gone back to Burnley. I forgot that he was still there, to be honest. We've started in for them. So he actually had a good game as well, didn't he, against Luton the other night? Danger man for them. But yeah, Burnley in second place. I think Ben's the only one that didn't have them there in his own table. So are you okay with them being in the automatics, or do you think otherwise?
Oh, they're one of a few who could definitely be top 2. The reason I'm in third, so not far off automatic promotion. I'm not a particular fan of Scott Parker. I feel like obviously he's got some promotions on his name, but it's always been squads that are insanely talented. But then you obviously remember, you look at Burnley's squads, you don't know a lot of the names. Obviously they've been in the Premier League. Quite a lot of youngsters have come in, but just an insanely deep and talented squad. So they could easily push on for top 2. They should have plenty of possession, and a lot of the players they have suit the possession heavy side. So, you know, you've got them in second place. They could easily be second place. I don't have much argument with that at all.
Same top 2 for me and Lee.
Coventry was interesting, though, to get automatic. That was
yeah,
like that.
A big reason for that, Mark Robbins, the manager, for me, he's probably one of the top 3 managers in the league, in my opinion. I think they went on an insane FA Cup run last year, making it to the semi-finals. Really should have got past over the line against Man United as well. Yeah. Then the drop-off in results after that was stark and immediate. It was incredibly noticeable. It was because they just ran out of gas and put everything into that FA Cup run. Ellis Sims and Hadji right up front, could probably be best strike partnership in the league, and they really got used to each other in the last, sort of a half of the season. Thomas Asante's coming from West Brom. You can play up front, but also a wide option as well. I think they lost their opening game, so again, doesn't exactly bode well right now, does it? Doesn't bode well right now, but for me,
then they went and beat them in the cup.
Yeah, second place obviously is above what you'd expect them to be, but I'd be shocked if they're not top 6. I think most people will have them top 6 as well.
I like that though. It's a good shout. Watch your space on that one. I like it. Could be laughing at the end of the season if they get automatic.
Sorry, I lied. Stoke City it was. They lost to 1-0, and then they went to beat Bristol City in the cup 1-0. I agree with you though. I think Coventry are having a good season. I had them in 5th place. Now, obviously, I was going to go down this in order because we mentioned Coventry. May as well finish on them. in our combined table, they're in 8th. And that's because Lee decided Coventry are going to finish 14th. So he's pulled them right down for us. But, maybe we're more correct as a result of that balance.
I'm just averaging it out. That's all I was doing. No, to be fair, like that, I kind of put them in the middle pack of teams, which is anyone from Bristol City on my table, from like 17th Bristol City up to Hull in 10th, I guess. They could be in any order, couldn't they? That middle pack, I just didn't even know.
Yeah,
I didn't even know where to go with them. They could literally all like turn on its head.
Yeah, that's fair. So in the playoffs, we've got Sheffield United, Luton, and Norwich and Middlesbrough. Now, we just played Middlesbrough, and I think they definitely look like a strong opposition. First game of the season, 1-0 home victory, clean sheet. I think they look quite strong. Their really bad start last year is probably what cost them not getting there last year. I think they didn't win for several games. They obviously got a better start this season. So for me, I think they look like a challenger. Norwich as well, I had in mind quite high up. I think they've built well over the summer and changed. They're usually a bit of a yo-yo club. They've had a bit of an off season last year, but I think they'll be back in the reckoning. And then Sheffield United and Luton. Sheffield United under Wilder, got to be a force to be reckoned with. He looks like he's actually completely rebuilt the team. And they played two different teams, essentially, in their first two games in the league and the Cup. Obviously, they had a win against Wrexham last night. But a lot of the youth coming through in that game, they look really quite good, actually, and they could perhaps play a part going into the season. So I think Sheffield United might have a good year. And then Luton, we've got them there, I guess, as a combination. But I guess there's a team coming down. Ben, you probably got more to say on them, but they're going to be still a tough team to beat.
Yeah, so starting with Sheffield United, like as you said, Chris Wilder's manager, the same man who took them up for the first time a few years ago from League One, then into the Championship and automatically promoted, which, Ipswich did it, but it is a difficult thing to do. The recruitment, obviously there is an ongoing takeover, so they haven't fully been able to release the purse strings, but what they have done, I've loved their business. Callum O'Hare in on from Coventry on a free transfer is a ridiculous free transfer signing, as long as he can stay fit, offers plenty of creativity, press resistance, dribbling ability. Kiefer Moore, I was actually surprised, only 31 years old. Feels like he should be more like 33 by now, but obviously very difficult to find a target man who's also good with the ball at his feet. So £1.5 million permanent signing. You wouldn't be surprised if he bags 20 goals for them if he's starting regularly. Also Harrison Burrows at left back in from Peterborough. Tons of attacking output, and I think he did well in his debut as well. And we forget they brought in Gustavo Hamer when they were in the Premier League from Coventry, so they're actually reassembling a bit of Coventry side there.
I've seen that he's been linked with some Premier League teams, though.
He is being linked. I think I don't know if he's exactly likely to leave, though. From what I've seen, maybe that will change. Obviously, if he leaves, that's a big blow for them. On the assumption that they're going to do a bit more business, that they're pretty much nailed on top six with Chris Wilder. I'd struggle to see how they're not. And then Luton, as you say, what did we have? We had Luton in fourth. I think we all had the probably a better team than the one that went up originally. They've still got Rob Edwards as manager. He took them up. Obviously, they came down, but they didn't come down with a whimper. It was a fairly strong side. They had Morris and Adebayo up front, excellent striking options. Chong, Alfie, Doughty. I remember Ogbene, the one that from Rotherham that we offered $500,000 for, and he was crying out in the media for us to sign him. It never happened. He's a top quality player nowadays. They haven't done tons of business yet, which is a surprise, if I'm honest. Maybe a little bit concerning. Shandon Baptiste in on a free transfer at centre mid. Offers good quality on the ball and good ball carrier also. He's had mad fitness issues, though, so wherever he stays fit, I'm not sure. But if you just look across the board, the quality they got in that squad, it's only really Ross Barkley's the major loss in that squad. So hopefully for them, fourth place. If it comes off.
Ipswich are coming in for Hamer apparently, but I don't know whether that's going to go through or not.
They can't get any deals over the line, Ipswich. I have just looking on. They're linked with everybody, just no one wants to go there, or they can't agree fees or what.
It's weird. I thought they'd be the place to go at the moment. Okay, so let's do it in groups of 4 from here on because we'll be here all day otherwise. But we got just missing out on the playoffs then. In 7th place, West Brom. Then we got Coventry, we kind of already discussed them. We got the Swans as a combined total of 9th, which is where I placed them. So that means I must be right. After Sunderland in 10th.
I'd bite your hand off for the Swans to finish 9th right now.
Maybe it's worth noting actually here, Ben, we were saying about the way that the combined table works, that because you have an average position through the three, or you can explain better.
Yeah, so can you see this on the screen now? Yeah. So this part on the far right, these weird numbers are the actual average positions of the three. So for the Swans, if we just look individually at the predictions, I had the Swans in 11th, Luke had them in 9th, and then Lee had them down to 13th. So the average of those three is actually 11th. But the reason that doesn't work is obviously these aren't real positions, these are numbers. So this one in the blue just ordered all of these averages from lowest to highest. So the team we have bottom, we'll get on to later, Plymouth, their average is, let's have a look, where are you? Plymouth here, 23. They're actually in 24th because they had the highest average of anyone. Swans, who had an average of 11th. They're in 9th because they're the 9th lowest number there. So that's all the list means. So got to take the positions with a pinch of salt. I don't think the Swans are finishing 9th. I think 11th would be generous also. So,
look, I was being optimistic and I was looking at where we finished last season and I was expecting us to push on. Basically.
They still could finish 9th. We're on week 1. We have to wait and see.
No, I know that, but in terms of like me perhaps coming across as a bit optimistic here, it's just explaining my reasoning. That's all. Where did we finish last season?
Like 14th, I believe, 14th. Was it?
So maybe I've jumped a little bit in positions, but
there's no hint of bias on this podcast whatsoever.
5 positions. I think like what I was trying to say is if Luke Williams gets a full season and puts his ideas in and it works well, I think 9th is on the cards or around that area if he was, give or take 1 or 2 positions. And I feel like if we're ending a bit lower, like 14th where we finished last year, considering the turbulence that we had last year, if he has a full season and finishes in that same position, what does that say about the progress that we're making?
Yeah, exactly. And also I think this top 8, give or take, in whichever order you put them, pretty much names themselves. I think pretty much everyone has these 8 teams in the top 8 or 9. So then anywhere from 9th, honestly, down to about maybe 17th, 18th, I think that could be any order. It's going to be so tight, probably 6 points separating a lot of mid-table down to near the relegation zone.
Those like middle teams in the championship, like I said, when I was doing my table, you could just rearrange them whichever way you want, couldn't you? Because it's just so hard to pick. I mean, you've got like teams like I look at Bristol City and like Stoke, they're just like perpetual mid-table teams, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so after Sunderland in 10th, the next 4 would be Hull in 11th, Cardiff in 12th, Sheffield Wednesday in 13th, and Bristol City in 14th. I think the one there, Sheffield Wednesday for me, they obviously had a torrid start of the season last year, the worst one in championship history, I believe. There's all the stats flying around at the beginning of the year. Obviously gave us our first win of the season. But the manager that come in, name slips my mind off the top of my head, sorry. Yeah, that's it, sorry. Absolutely turned our season around. And I think the job that he did is understated and undervalued, but they were gone. They were absolutely gone, and he recovered them and managed to stay in the league. They were in relegation for so long during last season. For them to then grab themselves out of that and stay in the league, they got a bit of money behind them in the club, and I think they've done some good business. They've obviously brought in Jamal Lowe, one of the players that they've brought in there, and he had a good start to his season. So I think they're going to have a decent season. I think mid-table is definitely on the cards.
Yeah, so down was 13th. I had them a bit higher, as did Luke in 10th. I mean, they only finished 20th last year, but obviously they were gone when he came in, Danny Rowe, like you say. If you say now the league, theoretically, if the league season started on Danny Rowe's first game, they would have finished 9th. That's how well he did with a side that was destined for League One. Like some of the business, like you say, Jamal Lowe's come in, Max Lowe at left backs also come in, Ben Hamer, another former Swans, come in for goalkeeper. Jan Valery, former Southampton right back, has been brought in for about $500,000 on a permanent. He had a brilliant game in the opening day, win against Plymouth, 4-0, battered them. Nathaniel Chalobah, another player, proven championship experience. As we say, Danny Rowe last season, if it weren't for Kieran McKenna doing the double promotion with Ipswich, I think he would have been nailed on manager of the season. So they're not going to be in a relegation battle for me this year, Sheffield Wednesday. I really like the look on against Plymouth, even though it looked like a poor Plymouth side.
I feel sorry for Plymouth.
I think like that Wednesday thing last year was one of the best escapes I ever in football. I think because I remember seeing the like the graphic at the end of the season where it showed like all the teams and like where they went, like in the table position across the season. And Wednesday were literally bottom the whole season, and then they just flicked out at the end. That was incredible because they were gone. I remember halfway through the season, and everybody was just saying, "Well, there's 2 spaces left because they're gone."
There was a period where they were just winning games every week, but not getting out of relegation because all the teams would jump one as well, and that happened for ages. And if you had to feel for them a little bit, but they managed to get over the line in the end. So that was the main thing. The other one there, Hull, I think, is a interesting topic because they're in a bit of a tricky situation with their squad right now. I think it's hard to put your finger on where they'll finish based on not knowing what signings they might make in the next 2 weeks. But they haven't really got a squad, like a full squad. They struggled to fill their bench in their first game. They obviously lost Philogene and some other big players. They've been committed to spending a decent chunk on Ryan Giles, I believe, due to the agreement they had on loan with him in January.
Yeah.
So they're a tough one to place. They could go either way with Hull, I think.
Yeah, obviously Liam Rosina getting sacked, I found mental. I think they finished 7th or 8th last season, and they weren't always the greatest to watch. But if you looked at Hull's squad, he took them to where you'd expect them to take them. Obviously, the manager who's come in now, big jobs, and it echoes Birmingham a bit for me last year when John Eustace left and had them in a good spot. It's pressure then to take an already, performing well squad and improve them. It also overperformed, their XG, expected goals scored, by around 10 goals last year, which if that aligns a bit more, you could see their goal output drop significantly. And as you said, Philogene in particular, huge loss for them because he's the sort of player that can just take a game on his own and make something happen. Similar to Whittaker at Plymouth, Ronald for us, really reliant on him for creative output. So we had him in
Villa, didn't he, Philogene?
Yeah, they had a clause in his contract where this was on about Ipswich. Like Ipswich had agreed a deal and he was going to Ipswich, but Villa had a clause where if someone else agrees a deal for him, they can match the fee. And I'm pretty sure it was something stupid, like he has to choose Villa before Ipswich. I swear it was something crazy like that, which I'd never heard before. So he's at Villa now anyway. So
do they actually want him?
They must have. I mean, it's silly looking back, isn't it? Because they loaned him to Cardiff, former Cardiff player, did well. Hull had him for 5 million, and they've turned him round for 16 in a year. You almost wonder why sell him then in the first place.
Yeah, it's odd one. Okay, so starting at 15th now, we got QPR, Stoke City, Millwall, and Portsmouth. So first of the promoted teams from League One in our league.
We think on Cardiff in 12th first.
18th. Yeah, go on. You can say a bit on Cardiff.
I was just going to point out how drastic we, all have them in different places. Like Lee has them up in 8th. I have them down in 18th. You have them in 14th. I feel like if you look at a lot of the Cardiff fans predicting, where they'll finish, a lot of them expect them to be up there in 6th or 7th.
All I can say is there's 2 in work with me, and one of them thinks they're going to win the league.
That's Cardiff fans for the winner.
I know he's kind of being a bit over the top, and he's fully aware of that. But he does genuinely think they have a chance of playoffs.
I mean, they're a strange one. They only drew 5 out of the 46 games last year. Leicester won the title, drew 4. They're the only team who drew less games. So they're either they go all out in games when it's level and it ends up with them winning or losing. I think quite a lot of their players that they may rely on are injury prone. Callum Robinson, Aaron Ramsey, Yaku Mate, Callum O'Dowda. Ramsey in particular, obviously, big injury issues. A couple of key players injured early on. Chris Willock come in on a free from QPR. Good player.
He's injury prone as well.
Injury prone and also hasn't been on the best of form. You could argue, is he suitable for that system? Callum Chambers and El Ghazi coming in.
You need Ronald to do his best Jefferson Montero impression when he plays against Callum Chambers in a week.
You could argue that all the players that are coming in there, Chambers and El Ghazi, haven't played a lot of football as well. You like some of their squads, like I like their centre-backs, McGuinness, Gutas. Chambers should be good on paper. Perry NG at right back and also in the back three is a solid player. Some of the players they've lost, Josh Bowler, Tieju, Nathaniel Phillips, Ike Ugbo, Jonathan Panzo, you could argue didn't have massive impact anyway. Carlin Grant maybe slightly more so, but he's also gone. They placed 22nd in the league last year for expected goals scored, with I think it was Preston and Rotherham being the only teams below them. So in terms of chance creation, they're right down there. Have they done enough to rectify that? I'm not sure. And then also there's the issue with, even though Errol Bullock, the manager, came in, he was finally the first manager to buck the trend. They were finishing lower and lower and lower each year. They finally finished slightly higher. I think it was 12th. They finished in the end, which was a good effort. It took ages to actually extend his contract, even though, what was it? He was either going to be out of contract or had 1 year in his deal. Yeah. Took them right into the summer before they eventually pulled the trigger on that, which is concerning.
It was something to do with the commitments he wanted with the players, I think.
Yeah.
Like with money and stuff.
So one last thing I wanted to say before anyone calls us biased, having Swans in 9th, Cardiff 12th. Yes, I'd say Swans 9th is above where they'd be expected to, but the bookies actually had them as 3rd favourite to get relegated. So up in 12th.
Yeah, the bookies have got Cardiff right on the bottom.
So 12th is
have they?
Yeah, it's a high finish.
That's interesting. I didn't realise the bookies had Cardiff so low.
I think like the signings are like names that you could argue are good, but like, you know, I think they're risks at the same time. A lot of them are. They could all hit the ground running and be really good, or they could take ages to gel and they end up in a scrap already before they know it. I also think McGuinness, you mentioned, being one of their better players right now.
Yeah.
There is a big chance that he's not there come the end of the transfer window, from what I hear from my work sources. They're quite concerned.
Is it? Well, that would be a big loss. One signing they did like for them is Alex Robertson, centre mid, 21 years old, from City, on loan at Portsmouth last year when they won the League One title. Did well by all accounts. That you can't argue that's a good addition for them. I do look at a lot of the hype this season, and I do think I don't really understand where it's coming from. Is the honest truth of the matter, but maybe I'll get proved wrong.
I think they're trying to play more ball, and but he's playing, for one of the criticisms they mentioned in work with me is playing the two defensively based midfielders is quite often what holds them back with their creative output. I think that's why they end up with a lot of that situation. And I guess it depends how much they can keep Ramsey fit, or how much he's got in him still. I don't really know.
You'd be lucky to get 1,000 minutes out of him, is the thing. He's so injury prone nowadays. Quality player, and you could notice it when he's on the ball. He barely moves, but he still moves people around him. It's crazy to watch, actually, but you can't rely on him. You really can't.
No, I can't believe. Yeah, I didn't really look at the bookies odds, but I just had another look now, and they're obviously losing the first game of the season wouldn't help, but they're still 3rd favourites to go down. But I think I've overinflated them because I tend to predict with like I'll overinflate Cardiff and maybe, you know, underinflate the Swans, and then if I'm wrong, then I'm happy about that. That tends to be
He's
my
trying
tactic.
to make himself feel better, basically.
No, I'm just baffled that they were like basically favourites to go down. That's because like you said, I've looked at their signings on paper, and I just thought, well, that's a good enough squad to at least equal what they did last year, surely. Like the players they signed on paper. So I'm just quite baffled why the bookies think they're gonna.
I think one of the big questions is if how often do their managers make a season? Does Bullock make the end of the year?
Well, he was quite vocal as well, wasn't he, last year? I mean, there was a couple of times where he came out and said some dodgy things, and then it looked like he was going to get sacked. And then, like you said, in the summer, didn't look like he was going to be there for this season, and he is. So it could be kind of like a Ryan Lowe thing, maybe, that it's like they're bringing problems into the season, and a couple of bad results could pull the trigger early.
I'm curious now, and I don't want to jinx anything, but they got Burnley as a hard game. I think a lot of teams wouldn't expect to get anything from that. And then they got us, right? So that's a big match. If they lose the South Wales derby, and that's 3 losses to start the season, that's big pressure, do you think?
That's Michael Duff's season then, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Who have they got after that? Then they've got Middlesbrough home after us before the international break. Like I said, I think that was Duff's biggest downfall, was downplaying the derby, and it's massive. I think all previous Cardiff managers, when we'd had the good run, didn't we? Like we won 4 in a row. Managers kept getting sacked left, right, and centre, and then it was our turn. And I think you're right. I think like if they bring in kind of a bit of managerial tension into this season, and they start poorly with 3 losses, including the derby, you know, that's how big it is. It could be curtains.
All I'd say is I think he does understand based off
Yeah, well, he got the 2-0 win, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's easy to say because he's won one. But just how he's treated interviews, he treated it a lot better than Duff did, especially. Yeah. But like you say, like I know we're looking very far ahead here. It could be that we lose to Preston and we lose to South Wales Derby. That I don't think Luke Williams is going to get sacked then. But
yeah, that's totally fair.
If there's a string of losses and a tough, run of fixtures that come and the South Wales Derby's in there, yeah, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. He's one of the few names of the Championship this season as managers. He's one of the more likely ones to not be there at the end, but I think that's partly because of how Cardiff are run as a club.
Yeah. I said that's how big that game is. Like, and then like you said, on the flip side of that, if they might not get anything at Burnley, but then if they, I don't know, it happens, they get a point at Burnley and then beat us, and then he's the
Messiah then, isn't he?
Yeah,
he gets what the derby means.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting anyway. I'm sure we'll discuss the results next week in the podcast, based on what we did and what they did ahead of that game. So more on that to follow. As I just mentioned then, QPR 15th, Stoke 16th, Millwall 17th, Portsmouth 18th. Portsmouth, the highest of the newly promoted teams, did get off to a good start against Leeds, didn't they? So perhaps there's a little bit of merit there.
Yeah, I mean, Portsmouth smashed League One last year, didn't they? The recruitment hasn't exactly been spectacular as of yet. You look at a club like Oxford who's come up, they've probably done a bit more than them. But as I said, they're a machine. Some of the signs they have had, Matt Ritchie, if you remember him from his Bournemouth days and recently at Newcastle, 34 years old, but brilliant player to have in the squad. Josh Murphy on a free transfer. He was excellent for Oxford when they came up from League One against Portsmouth last year. So I was surprised to see they've actually managed him on a free. A fun signing, former Newcastle man, Elias Sorensen. He scored on the opening day against Leeds, I believe. Came in from, I'll butcher this, Esbjerg FB in the Danish second tier. But in 33 games last year, he had 26 goals and 15 assists. So
how old is he?
Nice.
How old is he? I'm 24-ish. I have to Google it. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember him much from Newcastle, but
we're talking when he was like a youngster. I think he wasn't there for long. I'll tell you how old he is now, as you've asked. 24. So, what did I just say? 26 goals, 15 assists. You're talking 41 goal contributions in 33 games. The bit of context there is Danish second tier, and you're talking a side who blitz division. So how that translates to the Championship, not sure as of yet. Newcastle fans don't seem to rate him, but he's been gone a little while now. They should be on a high from the previous season. You'd like to expect they'd stay up. They're probably the most likely of the three teams out of them, Derby and Oxford, to do so. We have them in 16th, I think. I had them 16th nailed on. Luke had them higher in 11th. Lee had them down in 21st, so just staying outside. So that's averaged out to 18th in the end.
Seems to be a bit of a buzz about QPR as well.
Yeah, I like QPR, surprisingly. I think every year I predict them to go down. This season I have them far higher up in 12th. The manager, Cifuentes, came in 31 games to go last year. And again, he'll do the same thing as earlier. If his first game in charge was the first game of the season, QPR would have finished 10th. They end up finishing in 18th, but it's also because, similar to Sheffield Wednesday, they were so much lower to begin with. Elias Chair still at the club. He's probably a top 6 player, so he'll carry them through parts of the season. Solid set of fullbacks in Reggie Cannon and Kenneth Powell. 4-3-3 system. They play nice stuff. They do. Probably similar in some ways to us in what we look to do. So I'd be surprised if they're in a relegation battle. So 15th, maybe a bit lower than what I'd expect, but it'd be a fairly sensible position to put them.
Fair enough. Okay, should we move on to the next ones? We got anything on Stoke and Millwall? They're just kind of mid-table for me. I'm not really sure what to say.
Again, I just keep coming back to that middle pack, and they're just those Stoke, Millwall, Bristol City. They're just the kings of it. I just don't know where to put them.
All I'd say with Millwall is they finished the season strongly, but business-wise hasn't been spectacular. And there are some some people who seem to think they'll finish a bit lower this season. We don't think all across the board. We've had them 14th to 12th to 19th. Sorry, so similar range. Yeah, I mean, like you say, Stoke and Millwall, they're like dead rubber teams, aren't they?
They beat Portsmouth in the cup last night, didn't they?
I mean, they're going to beat Leeds next time they see them, then surely.
I was trying to see. I went to go and have a look if Macaulay Langstaff started for them. He didn't in the league game. He came on off the bench against Watford.
We ended up with Potnick instead, so we'll see. I'll have to compare the two at the end of the season, see if it was the correct decision.
Yeah. Okay, moving on then. So where did we get to? Portsmouth we got to, yeah? Okay, so in 19th place, Watford, Preston in 20th, and Derby in 21st. I'll leave the bottom three then. Watford, I think, are in a bit of trouble, but they did get off to a good start in the league, actually beating Millwall. But I think they're really struggling with their squad.
They are struggling with the squad. There's a lot of turmoil. The owner owns both Udinese and Watford, and by all accounts, it seems like he's focusing on Udinese and just asset stripping Watford. They also battered MK Dons in the Cup 5-0 last night, and I know it's a Cup game, you can't completely go off it, but a lot of people have them getting relegated. I had them in 23rd. Luke had them, where do you have them?
Down there somewhere.
20th, yeah. Lee had them as high as 7th, so just outside the playoffs. And they could get 7th because they've started well, but we have them in 19th. It's a tough one. Like Tom Cleverley, I saw one tweet saying, I can't believe I've seen someone start their career and retire and become a manager. And for the first time ever, I officially felt old, because I do remember him coming through at Man United back in the day. I feel like Watford's just a job. It's the championship equivalent of Chelsea, to be honest with you. We've seen far better, more experienced, talented managers go in and get chewed up and spat out. Chris Wilder, Rob Edwards, managers at Sheffield United and Luton now, both Premier League managers last year, and managers you expect to be managing top 6 sides this season. So
you could go back further and say Brendan Rodgers is how long it's been going on.
Also, another name, Valerian Ismail, who took a job at Barnsley, took a side expected to be in a relegation battle to a top 6, then went to West Brom and did okay before getting sacked there and ended up at Watford. He also couldn't change fortunes. So I do expect the wheels to fall off at some point, if I'm honest with you. One player who is rated there is Yana Espria, highly rated youngster, still at the club at the time of recording, but whether he'll still be there for long, I'm not sure. I do just expect Watford to potentially get found out, and then it's a case of, do they have any other ideas? It'd be cruel to sack Cleverley, but it could well happen. It's Watford. The number of managers they go through more managers than Sunday dinners, honestly. It's endless, just managerial changes, and at some point it's going to catch up to them. We have them in 19th.
Brave and put them in relegation.
23rd, I have them, yes. I feel like, what's the biggest EFL podcast, not the top 20, I haven't bought them. So it's not maybe as unpopular an opinion as it would appear. You think Watford, you think all the Premier League memories, don't you? And you think, okay, well, they'll be mid-table or playoffs, but they've regressed so quickly since coming down a few years ago. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see them get relegated, to be honest.
Interesting. Obviously, we got Preston this weekend, and the fact that they've just sacked the manager maybe is in line with us having them in 20th, shows the troubles that they're having there. And then we've got Derby, the second of the promoted 3, just missing out on relegation, staying in the league in 21st. That would be a good result for them, though, if they do manage it.
Yeah, and by all accounts, against Blackburn on the opening day, they performed very poorly. Against a Blackburn side not expected to pull up trees this year, they conceded 4. I like their manager, Paul Warne, been at Rotherham many years before making the switch to Derby, and he took a very, low budget side in Rotherham, made them somewhat competitive. A few promotions from League One did keep them up in the Championship for one season. Whether this system of his will suit Derby at the Championship level, that's another matter, unfortunately. Jerry Yates gone in on loan from us. Edward Adams, £1 million from Cardiff, good player but injury prone. Ben Osborne on a free transfer to Sheffield United brings in some much needed Championship experience, you'd have to say. They won't lose much sleep over the players that have left either. They've only really lost players to League One and League Two sides, which implies they were happy to lose them. We have them in 21st. So if, like you say, they just avoid the drop, I think they take that. It will be probably season where they'll have some bad patches of form. They have to just work through it.
Was Jerry Yates been playing?
He went in the squad on the opening game, so I'm not sure if he's injured.
Actually, he might be injured, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I've seen somewhere. Well, interesting. Anyway, interesting. Bottom 3 then. So 22nd, we've got Oxford United. 23rd, we've got Blackburn. Big one to go down if that happens. And 24th, Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle, which I think they started the season and as a team that looks like they might be down there.
I think apart from us all having Leeds at the top, the most consistent pick was probably us all having Plymouth to go down and Blackburn. But I think why Rooney keeps getting jobs is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't really get it. It's just a name. Surely, if he's not Wayne Rooney, he's not managing in the Championship.
Yeah, I feel like a big reason we have Plymouth and Blackburn both down there as well, though, is just because of the assumption that they're too reliant on their key players, Sammy Schmodix and Morgan Whittaker. So I actually had Blackburn bottom under the assumption Schmodix leaves. He still hasn't left. I feel like I would immediately rise him up the table a bit if he is still there past the end of the summer. But even with Whittaker, I feel like Plymouth are more of a likely shout to be in that bottom three, purely because obviously they're very reliant on him, but very few people rate Wayne Rooney as a manager as well.
Is Wayne Rooney going to get anything out of Morgan Whittaker, though?
Probably not, because I don't think the system suits him. I watched the 90 minutes where they lost 4-0 to Sheffield Wednesday away, and by all accounts, Plymouth don't do well away from home. They're a much better home side. I do accept that. And Sheffield Wednesday...
Unless they come to Swansea.
Oh, yeah, unless they come to Swansea and Whittaker's captain and they win 1-0 last time. But yeah, 19 goals and 8 assists last year for Whittaker for a team out when he stayed up on the last day. Ridiculous form, as we've said many times before. But if he doesn't play well, Plymouth don't play well. That's usually what happens. I think they're a side, Wayne Rooney sides, that are a bit more pragmatic. They pride themselves more on defence. I saw the appointment and it just didn't make sense to me at all. Reminded me a bit about Duff when he came to us, you could say. Bit of a stylistic switch in terms of ideology, what they're going for. They have made some decent signings. Obviously, Adam Forshaw coming in, huge player for them this season if he stays fit. He is very injury prone though. They brought in Ogberta from Swans on a free. I do like Ogberta. I do think he definitely got caught out for a couple of goals on the weekend, so maybe it's clear to see why he wasn't a regular for us as well.
Well, he didn't make a game, did he?
Yeah, he played like once, didn't he? They did have a good keeper, Michael Cooper. I think he's gone to Sheffield United for 2 million, or was about to, which is concerning, to be honest, because they were asking, I think, 6 million for him 3 days ago, now leaving for 2 mil. So I don't know what's gone on there. So yeah, I think we all had Plymouth to go down. It's averaged out as Plymouth being bottom. It's a tough one to predict, the relegation battle, to be honest, because you look at that, I'd say maybe Portsmouth down. It's wide open. Portsmouth maybe should be a bit higher, but normally there's 2 or 3 teams, isn't there, where like everyone's got them 23rd, 24th. I feel like that's not the case this year at all, because Portsmouth and Oxford in particular are getting some decent shouts coming up. And then in terms of teams who have regressed, they're bigger names, Watford and Blackburn. So I don't know. It's the relegation battle interests me this year. I do think even though we've got Swans up in 9th, Cardiff 12th, for example.
Oh, we lost Ben.
Cut off in his prime then.
I know, just in the middle of his flow. I'm sure we'll get him back in a second. Apologies for that. I'll ask him to repeat what he was saying. I didn't actually know that Ogberta went to Plymouth.
Yeah. It was a bit of a random signing, wasn't it? But
what was you going to say?
No, I was just going to touch on what Ben was saying. I think anybody in that middle pack, like I was saying, any of those middle pack teams can get sucked in, including us. I think, like we saw last season, it was so tight from like 12th down to the relegation zone. I think you've got to be careful.
Well, we only escaped it really like towards the end, didn't we? It wasn't as clear cut as it looked like come the end of the season. We kind of looked a bit better off than we actually felt for most of the season. Oh, there goes Ben. There goes the table. It's fine. But yeah, with Ogberta, I do find it interesting how, well, even if he made that one appearance for us, he literally couldn't get in the team for the several years that he was here. Couldn't get near the team and couldn't, come off the bench. Couldn't get a start in the cup game. And he's gone to Plymouth in the same league and he's starting immediately.
Yeah. There's obviously something to it though, because he was there for so long and nobody really gave him an opportunity. So there's, when you have a couple of managers come in,
apologies, connections.
All right.
It's all right.
Go on, Lee. Yeah, when you have a couple of managers,
it says a lot. It says a lot when you have like 2 or 3 managers come into a club and don't give a player an opportunity. It just speaks volumes, doesn't it?
But Wayne Rooney thinks he's with left back's starting position. So,
well, yeah, I think that says more about Rooney.
He started ahead of Mumba, or Mumba came on for him, unless it was a formation change actually. But anyway, enough about Plymouth. Sorry, you got cut off mid-flow there, Ben. What was you saying at the end there?
So where was I? Sorry, was I just saying the relegation battle's extremely open, and there's quite a few mid-table teams who get dragged into it, such as us and Cardiff. I probably think that's where I ended up. Yeah. And then, yeah, I already regret putting Blackburn bottom before anyone grills me on that in the comments. I think John Eustace as manager is something I completely overlooked. Even with Schmoddick's leaving, I'd probably shift Watford and Plymouth down, at least have Blackburn 22nd or 21st. But hey ho, we can't change it now. We have to lock it in before game one.
It's difficult. It is difficult, isn't it, to do.
What I say about Blackburn is, though, like you mentioned, Schmoddick's. If he goes, I do think there's definitely a chance they're struggling. I know Eustace is there, but they're in trouble somewhere else, not in the UK. They've got some legal stuff going on elsewhere that are definitely affecting their finances and what they can pull in. So I'm not sure the depth of their squad and what they can actually do about it right now. So we'll see. They could be for a long year, or they could catch us by surprise.
It's mad to think how many clubs, or like we said, anybody in that middle pack, like we said, can get dragged in. It's mad how many of these clubs are actually like on the edge of problems, like real problems.
Yeah.
You broke up again then. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
Did I? Oh, goodness sake.
I don't know what you've been saying, but we haven't heard it.
Oh, well, I was just saying Sam Gallagher's left, Sammy Smroddick's expected to leave, and then legal issues over in India where I believe they're not allowed to put money into other assets while that case is ongoing. And obviously, if that case goes south, then what that means for Blackburn, I'm really not sure. But as we said, John Eustace, solid championship manager, pulled up trees at Birmingham and was unfairly dismissed. So they're at least glad they've got a calm head to steady the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Any final thoughts on our table before we call it a day?
I feel like top 8 names itself, bottom 5 or 6, you've seen a lot of similar shouts, even if one of them do end up breaking up, but then take 9th through maybe 17th, 18th for a pinch of salt, because I think you could genuinely rearrange those teams in any which way.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. There's our table. We'll get a table posted at some point, and we can revisit it through the season to see how good or bad we are getting on with our pre-season thoughts and initial predictions then. Hopefully it will work out quite well. We've got it, quite accurate, but I'm sure there'll be a couple of red herrings in there that kind of throw us miles away. Maybe Lee's table, which is kind of like a bit funky compared to our two, will help us out in the long run. Who knows? But thanks to both of you for being here again, Lee and Ben. And I know it's been a bit long. The idea is we'll crop out the table stuff and have that as a separate thing on YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching the podcast and you got to this point, probably don't need to watch that video, but a lot of people probably wouldn't have watched all of this, so they can check that out, just that part if they would like to, or you can refer back to it just to check our table when you want to kind of come back and tell us how wrong we were. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments about everything we spoke, your opinions, and we shall see you in the next video next week ahead of the big first South Wales derby of the season. So goodbye for now.
See you soon.
In a bit.